Hi guys, welcome back to the whole coin journey. In this video, we're going to take a look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, things that separate it apart from normal fiat-based currency systems, and we're going to use some everyday analogies to try and make the concept a little clearer. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, one of the first core fundamentals of Bitcoin is its inherent scarcity. Let's say you head out for a long walk. Over time, depending on how far or long you decide to walk, you get a bit thirsty. So head into a local store and find yourself at this aisle here. You pick up a water bottle and pay £2 to quench your thirst. You're now refreshed and you can continue with your day. In this setting, the product that you've purchased is abundant. Therefore, it's ordinary, replaceable, and very easily forgotten. But let's say we change the setting. Let's say now you're conducting that same walk. You've obtained that same level of thirstiness, but this is the only available resource in this climate. You still had to purchase it, but it's not only you now that needs a drink. 15 other people are also in the same place and you're all thirsty. How do you now assess the value of this water? Would you personally now pay double, triple, 10x more for this particular drink? You can see that in both scenarios, the nature of the water hasn't changed. It's still water, but the weight of its meaning has now increased due to the fact that it's the only available resource around. That is scarcity in essence. Throughout history, people have placed tremendous value on items which have been perceived to be in very short supply. Whether that's rice stones, as you see in the left, or gold, which you see in the top right. For millennia, these particular resources have been scarce within their particular areas of use, and therefore have been considered inherently valuable. By nature, when a resource is limited, they do become more desirable. This heightened desire in itself increases the demand, which elevates the perceived value and the actual value of the scarce resource. Scarcity itself is valuable because it drives demand in two ways. Economically, it makes a particular resource desirable and forces the choice made by a particular individual because of its perceived value. Secondly, psychologically, it triggers what's known as FOMO, or the fear of missing out, creating a sense of urgency in the participant's mind, making it seem more attractive, unique, and worthwhile. In the case of Bitcoin specifically, scarcity is inherent because the code guarantees that there is no more than 21 million Bitcoins ever to be in existence. New coins are created through mining, but the issuance rate, as you see here, declines roughly every 4 years in the halving. You can see via the chart here from Glassnode that shows the circulating supply in orange of Bitcoin, the remaining supply left to mine in red, and the general price in black. It's incredibly clear here that as the remaining supply has dramatically decreased, the demand for Bitcoin has increased, which has led to the increase in price. This is what's known as engineered scarcity, and is completely opposite to fiat currencies like the pound or dollar that we have today, which can be expanded out of thin air by central banks. By design, Bitcoin is resistant to inflationary pressures, which is one of the reasons why it can be compared to gold. The next fundamental aspect of Bitcoin is its decentralization. Imagine here you are part of a village where all food is stored in one giant barn owned by the chief, as shown here on the left. If you wanted to eat, you had to ask the chief's permission. Sometimes he was fair, other times he locked people out. He always had his favorites, or raised the price of entry at any given moment. If the barn then managed to burn down, the whole village would starve. This type of analogy represents a centralized form of control, where one individual has control over a particular resource or good. Let's say this village grew particularly frustrated with this scenario. One day, the villagers had decided to change things up. Instead of one big barn, everyone then decided to build their own smaller food huts, like shown on the right. They agreed to follow the same rules as the centralized system in relation to sharing, trading, and keeping records, so no single person controlled the system. Now, in this scenario, if one store was completely destroyed, the village still have plenty of food to go around, and no one would be locked out, because everyone therefore has equal access. That, in a nutshell, is decentralization. Instead of power and resources sitting in one central place, they're spread across many different avenues, making the system stronger, fairer, and definitely more resilient. That is essentially the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin is not controlled by any government, corporation, or central bank. Instead, it's maintained by thousands of nodes and miners distributed globally, all keeping a copy of that public ledger of all previous transactions. Bitcoin itself is the largest voluntary system in existence and does not require any permission from authorities to use. Because of this decentralization, it makes Bitcoin highly resistant to censorship. Transactions can't be blocked, and the monetary policy cannot be altered by a single authority. So in a world where financial systems often depend on intermediaries, this interdependence is a defining feature of Bitcoin. Next up, we have security. So the analogy that we're going to use here is thinking of a museum. Let's say this museum holds priceless paintings, as shown in the top. The museum here just hangs the artwork on the wall and allows people to use the open door on the left to come and see. No barriers, no tickets, no guards, nothing. In this case, they're just asking to be robbed. Anyone here can walk in and walk out with a masterpiece. There will be no checking system, no ability to understand how many people have come in at a certain time, who's returned, who's left, nothing. Sooner or later, that museum will go out of business very quickly. To protect this, the museum decides to change things up. They utilize methods like glass cases around paintings, motion detectors, security guards, and turnstiles, as shown on the right. They could also install cameras, locked vaults, and even alarms to alert the police if something goes wrong. Each layer of protection here doesn't inherently make the painting impossible to steal, but it makes it so complicated, risky, and costly that stealing the painting becomes unthinkable. So that, in essence, is what security is. It's not about one perfect lock to make it impregnable, but many overlapping defenses that together make the prize too hard or too difficult to reach. That, essentially, is Bitcoin security. Remember, it's not so much about being 100% bulletproof, but it's more about ensuring the security is difficult not to be bothered with. So think about it this way. Imagine, in Bitcoin's sense, that a rogue nation state or a bad actor has spent billions in infrastructure and electricity to comprise 51% of the Bitcoin network that they are now in control of. If that did happen, and this bad actor can then manipulate transactions, the integrity of the system itself would be breached, and therefore each Bitcoin participant's confidence in Bitcoin as a mechanism would then completely fail. What would then happen is the price action would reflect that. Because people have lost faith in Bitcoin as a monetary system, the price would plummet, and Bitcoin would probably be worth a fraction of what it is worth today. So the bad actor in this instance doesn't stand to benefit in any way, shape or form, because if the price has dropped significantly, they have zero return on investment for the billions that they've spent in trying to obtain the majority in the network. Secondary to that, Bitcoin security comes from the proof of work consensus. So miners complete complex mathematical problems and expending real-world energy to add blocks to the blockchain. This process makes it prohibitively expensive to alter the ledger. Overall, Bitcoin has had over a decade of uninterrupted operation. Bitcoin has also demonstrated tremendous resilience, and the blockchain has never successfully been compromised. One crucial fact here is that the Bitcoin security continues to grow as more nodes are added to the network. The more nodes on the network, the harder it becomes to obtain a majority. The final fundamental reason we have here is transparency. So the analogy we're going to use now is, imagine you and a couple of friends went out to a Japanese restaurant. You order some food and you take a look around. What you can see in this restaurant is that the kitchen is hidden behind closed doors, as shown on the left. You have no idea what's happening, whether your food is being made freshly or just out of the freezer, whether it's cooked properly, or whether shortcuts are being made in any way, shape or form. Here, you just have to trust that the chef does a good enough job not to get you sick. Now, picture another restaurant where the kitchen is right in front of you, as seen on the right here. You can see that it's nice, airy, and within your sight of view. As you wait for your meal, you can watch the chef select fresh ingredients, cook them, and plate them on the dish. You don't need blind trust here on whether your food is being made correctly. You can see the process for your own eyes. Seeing is believing is a saying for that particular reason. In essence, that's what's transparency. When the process is open and visible, trust doesn't come from promises alone, but from actual proof. In this sense, your eyes. Think of traditional banking like this closed door kitchen. You deposit your money in. What the bank does with it, who they lend it to, how much risk that they are looking to take, is hidden from you completely. You just have to trust that they're managing it responsibly. Bitcoin, however, flips this door completely wide open. The blockchain is where every transaction is recorded in public view. You don't need to rely on any promise or take someone's word for it. You can just see the exact ingredients, or in this case, the exact historical transactions for yourself. That's Bitcoin's transparency in a nutshell. Trust, in this instance, doesn't come from secrecy or authority, but from open records that anyone can inspect. So, altogether, these fundamentals of scarcity, decentralization, security, and transparency all work together to create a system of money unlike anything we've seen or witnessed before. In my opinion, Bitcoin offers a predictable monetary policy with a fixed supply and fixed issuance schedule, and the ability to move value across the globe with ease and efficiency. While the future of Bitcoin and its adoption is uncertain, these characteristics are the foundation of Bitcoin's value and what makes it a sound monetary policy for future use. I don't know about you, but thinking about working and saving a particular currency which is continually losing its purchasing power doesn't sound like an optimal way to store wealth for future generations. In fiat currency now, we have a system which is continually debased and allows for depreciating purchasing power. It just doesn't seem right, and I think that it should be challenged further. But overall, that's my take. Let me know what you think, and if the fundamentals are something which you'd like to see in a currency utilized more frequently in future. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.